All right. So, Kevin, how's it going, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. It was, great to connect with you on Facebook, and I just wanted to say, Kevin got me into some modeling gigs for some romance book covers. So, thank you so much for that. That was a great connection.
You're
And
very welcome.
but I kind of wanted to get to learn more about you since you are, I think, very close to my age. I'm 55. How old are you?
I'm 54. I'll be 55 in February.
February what?
February 8th.
Okay, okay. So I'm February 26th.
Oh, cool.
So I'm a year ahead of you.
Right, right. Almost.
Yeah, almost. Um, yeah, so basically just give me like a background on what, because obviously, I mean, you're doing romance book covers and you're modeling, and so that requires you to kind of stay in shape and whatnot. And so just kind
Yeah.
of how did you get there? Like where'd you come from to get to where you are today? Being that you're in your mid 50s and you're a model and you're on romance book covers. How did that all come about?
Well, I had started in fitness at an early age, but then around my early 30s, I ended up with some chronic neck pain, and it got worse and worse, but the doctors really never did much about it. So 10 years into it, I finally had my first surgery. Then 2 years later, I had my second. But at that point, I was already an addict, and I was really not ever able to take any kind of narcotics because I have some IBS-C, which causes constipation if you take any kind of pain medication. So I ended up looking for other things, which I ended up with on meth for about 20 years. And so about 5.5 years ago, I went to rehab. About a year into rehab recovery, I had really got back into my fitness. I pretty much put all my focus on getting back into shape. All the time and energy that I put into my addiction, I tried to put into something healthy. So I really focused on the gym. I really had no other life other than the gym. And so I was in a Facebook workout group, and it's one where you sort of post your progress and that kind of thing. And I was posting my progress photos along with some a little bit about my recovery story. And Golden Zermatt, who is one of the top photographers for romance book covers, was in that group, and he hit me up and said, I like your story, I like your look. Would you like to do a romance book cover shoot? And at first I was like, this can't be real. Then I looked at his website and I was like, wow, this is really legit. And then I got really nervous because I was like, these guys are half my age and they're bodybuilders. I can't compete. Um, but I decided, the old me was always backing out of anything that was out of my comfort zone. And I decided, you know what? The new me is not going to do that. I've got this opportunity. Even if nothing comes from it, it's still a great opportunity. I'm going to do it. So
Oh,
I trained for about 3 months, got in the best shape I could, and did my first shoot and did so well. So it just sort of like took off from there. And at
wow.
that point, it was like perfect timing. I needed something to focus on, something positive, something healthy. So I even made more of an effort to, get in the best shape I could. I really started focusing on just trying to be the best, trying to be the best model I could. And 4 years later, I think it's 4 years next week that I did my first shoot. And I've just sold my 146th book cover. So
Oh, good for
I'm
you,
just
man.
I'm amazed at the success I've had. I think a lot of my success has also been because I've the whole time I've talked about my recovery story, been really, really personal and vulnerable and put my, personal information out there so that I might help others. And I
Yeah.
think it's resonated with so many people and so many authors that they were like, I want you on my book cover because of who you are, not just
Yeah.
because of what you look. So it's been such an amazing experience I never imagined. I never imagined to be modeling them for romance book covers besides doing it in my 50s.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah, really seriously think about that, like that's, that's quite that's quite a turnaround, going from being in an addiction and then just straighten your life out and going right into like top, top modeling, for
Yeah.
book covers,
And
that's quite amazing.
and I feel like because, like I went from being homeless, sleeping in my car to traveling and doing photo shoots, and it's such a big contradiction from one life to another that I felt like I had to tell my story because I never had anyone when I was in addiction that I could look to. Everyone I saw went to rehab, went to jail, got out, started all over again. I never saw anyone get out of the life. So I'm trying to be the person that I needed to see.
Nice. Yeah, because I mean it's an inspirational story. So, you inspire yourself, you inspire me, you inspire people all around you, and that becomes somewhat of like a way to identify with the world. Like, hey,
Right.
you can do this too. If I've done it, you can do this, right?
Right.
And you can
Exactly.
inspire others, because I think we have somewhat similar. Mine wasn't probably as devastating as yours was. But I went through my own version of going through addiction as well. In fact, it's what I kind of used to develop out my program that I created for health because I was a fitness guy and I was working out all the time. I have a background in martial arts and CrossFit and all these different
Right.
fitness things. I'm a strength conditioning coach by trade, and so I was going through a difficult injury. I blew out my back, and I got addicted to opiates, and unknowingly, just kind of
Right.
thinking naively that I could take opiates and enjoy my life, and everything would be just fine, and just anything to get rid of that pain, because
Right.
your back goes out. It's like it's devastating, It just it's like just as it's ridiculous. You can't do anything, and so I was just really depressed, got into addiction, and then but I did the same thing. I kind of bounced back out of it. I just had one day where I was like, okay, that's enough, and I just threw the pills down the toilet, booze down the toilet, and said, I'm done with this, and I was a fitness guy. So
Right.
it was like the biggest contradiction in the world. Here I am, I own gyms, I'm helping people get healthy, and here I am 30 pounds overweight, feeling sorry for myself because I'm not able to do the things I love to do. And then, and also it's just the devastation mentally. I think that was a big piece of it. Just when you get addicted, you fool yourself into believing that you're okay when you're addicted. And which was astonishing to me. I always had this idea that, well, I can have another pill and I could booze it up, and I could smoke weed occasionally and just dull all the pain in my life. Work during the day. I was a functional addict. So
Yeah.
it was like I was still going to work. I just wasn't paying attention to what people were probably looking at me going, what is going on with him? Um, you know, but eventually when I woke up, I was like, whoa, I can't even believe I had done that to myself. What
Yeah.
was it like for you? What made you stop? Because I mean, it's like it's one of the hardest things that could ever happen is get addicted to meth, and most people just never come out of it. What was it that triggered you to come out of that?
Well, I was like you for many years. I was a functional addict. Nobody really knew. Um, Even up until I went to rehab, my family didn't know I did drugs. Even though I was homeless, I was living in another city. I hid it so well, but it eventually, like I functioned on it so well, but it eventually took over. And I feel like you said, when you're an addict, it really does start to mess with your head a little bit, and you start thinking less of yourself because you have this dirty little secret that you're hiding from everyone. And I feel like that's probably what kept me in my addiction for so long, is because I was hiding it. And there was many times where I thought about going to rehab, but then I thought no, because then everyone's going to know.
Right, right.
And
Oh,
and
that's
and
tough. Yeah.
because I was in all that pain, I just assumed if I go to rehab, I'm still going to be hurting. I'm still going to need to get high. So not only will I get high again, but everybody's going to know I'm an addict. So I just try to hide it as long as I can. But what eventually happened is that I was coming to see an acquaintance in Tuscaloosa. He said I could crash with him. He knew my best friend was a dealer who I got my stuff from. He asked me to bring him some stuff. I didn't know he was setting me up. He set me up so as soon as we got there and made the transaction, cops were like on us. And
Oh,
and he didn't get arrested, so I knew it was a setup. But so I went to jail for like 50 days, and that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, is because it gave me time to completely detox it out of my system.
yeah. Totally.
part
Totally.
of my part of my sentencing, they allowed me to do rehab, which was here at the VA in Tuscaloosa. So when I got out to go to rehab, everybody there was sort of like they didn't want to be there. They wanted to be out, whatever. But I was so excited to be there because I had just got out of jail where I was locked up with 50 something people. You know,
Yeah.
I had my own room, I had my own shower, I had my phone, I had a TV. It's like that was amazing for me. Once my family knew, it was like it took that weight off of me.
Yeah.
It's like I wanted to get better. I did not want to go back to jail. I did not want to go back to living in my car. So I was going to do whatever it took. So I changed my phone number. I stayed here in Tuscaloosa, and I pretty much cut out anything that was going to be a trigger for me. Um, my biggest trigger was actually sex, because sex and using had become such intertwined for me that as soon as I started thinking about sex, I started thinking about using. So I knew that was something I was going to have to cut out. So I stayed celibate for over 4 years. So you just have to do whatever you have to do
It's
to
it's
change.
it's it's the hard path, you know.
Yeah,
Like
and
that's the thing. It's there's wishful thinking, right? And then there's true intentions
yeah,
where you
I mean,
actually
yeah, I had to be honest with myself, and I knew what my trigger was. So I knew what I had to give up, because I knew if I didn't give up that, I would be right back in it. So like I said, about a year into my recovery is when I started the modeling thing, and that all of a sudden gave me this incentive that, you know what, my life's going amazing. I never dreamed I would have these opportunities. I don't want to give that up. So I'm okay giving up all these other things, because I wasn't happy anyway. Sex wasn't good when I was using either way. It's like
right.
even, it felt like, for the longest time, anything you did on meth felt amazing. It felt, you felt so, like a rock star, a porn star. You just felt like, even though maybe you weren't, you felt that way.
Right.
So eventually though, that sort of goes away, and you just become a little bit dysfunctional. And so you meet up with somebody and they're high and it doesn't go well, and you're like, oh, that was horrible. So you end up just staying at home watching porn or whatever it is, and you become a recluse. So, like, I really wasn't giving up anything at that point that was good,
Yeah.
uh, in your head you're thinking, oh, you're missing out, but no, I'm like, no, this, what I have now is so much better than what I had then. So keeping things in perspective was the biggest thing. And I think, you know having hit rock bottom where I was sleeping in my car, not always having money for food, not having a place to sleep, not even having a place to like crash and watch TV, all those things that you take for granted. So going from that and then being arrested to then rehab, it's like everything was a move up, and it's
Yeah.
like I wanted to keep moving up, you know. So
Right.
it was an easy decision for me, because I'm like, what I have now is so much better than what I had, and I want to keep getting more and more.
Yeah, you want to protect what you've gained, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
You don't want to go
exactly,
back there.
right.
It's like,
And I feel
no.
like a lot of people have to almost hit rock bottom to have that kind of perspective, and it's like,
Yeah.
I I feel like what I gained from hitting rock bottom was amazing, because it gave me a drive. It gave me an appreciation, being grateful, being thankful that I'd never had before.
Yeah.
And like I go after things like, why not? I don't have anything to lose, so I just go after stuff that I would never go after before. And like I said, then I did that first photo shoot and it went well. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep stepping out of my comfort zone. And then I've been doing that ever since. It's like I got really comfortable with being in front of the camera, but not in front of like video, even like what we're doing now. And
Yeah.
so I made it a point to start doing things. I took an online acting class. I've started doing podcasts. I've been interviewed by a couple of newscasters recently. And so it's just constantly making myself step out of my comfort zone. And every time I do, I grow as a person and my confidence goes up.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I love that. Yeah, there's a principle behind that, and it's like you get comfort seeking is a disease, and so if we're always seeking comfort, we're gonna get complacent. Life's gonna go right by us. And you gotta be uncomfortable. You gotta challenge yourself. And I always think that that's what keeps people from moving forward is that they're just so afraid that there's going to be discomfort associated with
Yeah.
change, and
And
and it's
and
like
and
it
there
is the
is.
worst.
There is a little bit of discomfort, but what you gain from it is so much better than that little bit of discomfort.
It
Um,
is. It is. It's
but
like
I feel like that's probably a different mindset that me and you have than most people our age. Is like with me, I wasted so many years in addiction that I'm ready to not waste any more time, and I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. A lot of people our age have just settled into their comfort zone, and they won't try anything new. You
Yep.
know, they
Yep.
don't want to know about any new technology. They don't want to learn anything new. They're just okay, and they become complacent. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate, just because a lot, there are peers, there are people that are our age, and you would want the best for them, and I
Right.
always feel like there's it's the it always seems like it's a difficult task at first, and
Yeah.
it is hard to change your life. There's no doubt about it, but if you just follow certain principles, like opening your mind, for instance, and just really radically opening up your mind and
Yeah.
being able to shift your perspective, like just that alone, I think is a big principle that people don't that they just don't do enough of. They get closed minded. They get into their fixed beliefs. They have cognitive dissonance. They've got all kinds of biases. And they just hang out, and they just kind of go through life just going through the motions,
Yeah.
um, and not really actively participating in life, because I think actively participating in life is challenging yourself, growing as a person. Like if you're still breathing air on this planet, you should always be trying to grow,
Yeah.
and learn and do new things, and create new relationships, and just kind of expand. We're intended to expand, I believe. I mean, if we retract, I always feel like that leads to destruction, despair, depression, and before you know it, you're dead. you
And,
know?
I think your mindset has so much to do with it. As soon as you start making excuses, you're not going to do it.
Right.
If you immediately go, no, I'm too old for that. Well, then I guess you are. You know, but I mean, I realize I'm not 25 anymore, and so I work out smarter. I don't go in there and try to like lift all the weights and impress anyone. I work out smarter. I've learned ways to be careful with my joints and everything so that I don't hurt myself. But I have the best body I've ever had in my entire life at 54.
That's
You know,
awesome. Love it.
so it's like why stop there? Like I do try to not compete with other people. You know, I try to compete with myself. But at the same time, if I see someone who's 25 and I'm like, God, he's got a great body. I want to look like him. Why not? If I feel like he's got a great body, I'll have my version of that because we all are built different. But it's like I feel like if I want to go after something, I can now. You know, I don't put limits on myself like I used to. So it's like I also don't put a lot of pressure on myself because it takes time and some it's taken me 5 years to get where I'm at now and working out. It's been a slow go, but like I said, I just keep getting better every year. So every birthday comes around, I'm excited because I'm like, I want to be even better for my 55th birthday, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that. That's exactly my approach too, you know. I think when I was going through my issue, I was roughly, I probably started it around, when I was about 45, and then that's when I injured my back, and I started getting into opioids and stuff,
Right,
and
right,
then before you knew it, I was 47. It was probably like a year and a half. It was probably like a year and a half that I was really going down in a
right,
bad
right,
way.
right,
But but then it was like, once I snapped out of it, I was like, you know what? First thing I got to do is I got to get healthy. Like, what do I got to do to get healthy? Well, you got to get your mind healthy first. You got to start, you got to start thinking clearer. You got to start thinking more
right.
rationally, being more, more reasonable with your approach to life, and you got to think about, I always say there's three responsibilities. Responsibilities give our life meaning, right? You know, I mean, all our responsibilities give our life a lot of meaning. And
Right.
we have three main ones, healing our body, loving our body, and then protecting our body. And so I just was like, well, I got to get back into that. Like, I got to get back into healing. I get back into loving myself, back into protecting myself. And sometimes I have to protect myself against myself, and
Right, right,
make sure I don't, go down the wrong rabbit holes in life.
right,
So
right,
so it was like, it was just this unraveling, and then going, whoa, like, that's scary. I've got to fix this. And but the process from getting healthier is one of those things where it's a change system. Like, you have to think about, how do you make changes in your life. you know and I think that like I said, the first one was having your aha moment, right? Yours was getting arrested and going to jail. That was
right.
your aha moment. Mine was nearly passing out on the floor when I was bending over to pick up my 6-month-old. I almost fell over into the crib because I was just so lightheaded from the drugs. And it was, I woke up that morning, I took some opiates on an empty stomach, almost passed out on the bathroom floor. It was awful. And I was just like, okay, that's enough of that. But the first thing I think that needed to happen was I needed to have that aha moment. Like,
Yeah,
okay, things need to change. Like, they need to change. Like, it's not like, oh, I need to change. It's like, no, they're changing.
yeah, yeah,
you know and then just from there, just learning what that process is, that change process of opening your mind to new possibilities. And I always talk about, there's a lot of people out there, they're talking about manifesting your future self, right? The power of manifestation, and visualize what yourself is going to be like in the future, and then become that.
yeah,
And so there's a lot of these, there are great theories out there, but law of attraction and all these things about getting people out of their suffering and embracing a different perspective on life, a life of abundance. And I was always one where I was like, well, for me, I was creating athletes my whole life. I was building athletes, and I had to take people from all different walks of life and all different, whatever had going on in their life, and try to turn them into champions and get them fit and strong and healthy. And so I was always building big on processes. And one of the things that I was seeing that was lacking out there in this new sort of, I say, um, new psychology of getting mentally healthier with in manifesting your future and all that, was people were lacking process. Like, they were lacking, what I found, intentionality, which is the actual, like, scheduling in your workouts, scheduling in your diet, scheduling in your just getting really organized
yeah,
around your what it is that's important to you, which is your health. Your health is the number one resource you have. But you've got to make it a priority, and you've got to find ways of being able to schedule and organize it in a way that you can really kind of implement. And so what was that like for you? Like, because you're going from, all of a sudden you were going into modeling, like, how what was that like, having to acquire these new skills in order to get your life really in order again?
Well, I when in my recovery, I really started focusing on not just my physical self, but my mental health. Um, and in my addiction, I had a lot of self-esteem issues, and that's the reason why I backed out of anything out of my comfort zone, because I just lacked that, and it's like I had this attitude like, you know, I'm not good enough, or I'm not, people are going to see me for what I am. And, I just had this negative attitude about myself, and I really had to work on that. And so when I got this modeling opportunity and then it did well, I started thinking, you know what? I'm so hard on myself. Other people can see some things in me that I don't see. I've got to start seeing those things as well. So I really started trying to focus on loving me, liking me for who I am. Whenever I used to post anything online, I would take 50 selfies. I would hate them all, but I finally get one. It would be the perfect angle that I felt like, made me look my best. And that's all I wanted people to see. But whenever I did my first photo shoot, they're shooting me from every angle. And they're
Yeah.
the they're the ones picking the photos. And I cringed at some of the photos that they released. And and then everyone else loved them and they sold. And I'm like, I'm the only person that's uncomfortable seeing myself from these angles, because everybody else sees me every day from every angle. I'm the only person that has to get comfortable with who I am. And so I really started working on that. Um, but I actually also did a vision board, because I wanted to start putting up things that I wanted to accomplish, and I wanted to see them so that it would remind me. But and thinking positively and speaking positively, that sort of became my thing on social media. I wanted to be a positive influence, but I also wanted to have that in my own life. I wanted to think positively of myself. But even with all these, positive thinking and all that, you still have to have a plan. And that was my big thing. I'm like, yes, I want these things. How am I going to get them? So I really just started, working with some other models who were like you, who had, fitness backgrounds, and they would help me with my workouts. They would help me with my diet. And so, they got me ready for my photo shoots. And so I learned a lot through them. And so lately I've just been able to do it on my own. I sort of like figured out what works for me, and what workouts work. But I'm still always kind of learning from people. I'm like, okay, I really like the way their core looks. I need to find out what they're doing for their core, different things like that. Um, but I'm still just sort of like figuring it all out. Um, but like this past year and a half, I've probably made my best progress ever, and it's because I I sort of set up last year, like I had a photo shoot every 2 to 3 months. That way, I didn't have time to slack off after a photo shoot and then have to get back in shape. I just kept it going, and this, over the past year and a half, 2 years, I put on about 20 pounds of muscle, because I got down to 11% body fat, which is sort of my sweet spot for most of my shoots. And I used to get down to like 175 whenever I do this, whenever I lean down, and I'd always feel kind of skinny, And so then this past time I got down to 11% body fat, I was at 195. So I was very, very happy with
That's
my
a big
progress.
jump.
Yeah, yeah. But I just consistently kept my diet. But like, before, I would work out, but my diet was not all that great. I didn't know much about the diet. I knew like, okay, well, I'll cut out some of my fat, but I didn't really have an idea about, you know, upping my protein when I'm dieting so that I don't lose muscle. I didn't learn that you can't really have fat and carbs together. So, I'd be eating these Atkins meals that were so high in fat, but then I'd be having carbs on other parts of the day. So it really was not benefiting me, because I was just getting lots of fat, lots of carbs. You know, so I've really learned over time what works for me, And now when I'm getting ready for a shoot, I used to feel like I was starving myself, and now I'm really not. I feel like I'm eating enough because I'm getting enough protein,
Yeah.
and I'm still getting great results. So
Nice.
really just sort of like learning learning what works for me, but sticking with it long enough that it doesn't feel like a diet. It just feels like what I do. You know,
It's
I
got to
just
be a lifestyle.
it is. I meal prep every day.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I always found in the diet culture that's out there. It's always this fixed runway where it's like, all right, I'm overweight, go on a diet, and then you go on a diet, you lose your weight. All right, I got down to my weight, then go off the diet, and then you gain weight right back.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? I always felt like that was just like it was just so crazy, just because I mean I basically stayed the same body fat wise, I would imagine. I maybe fluctuate 2 percentage points at the most.
yeah, yeah,
Usually hover anywhere between 12 to 15% on average. And
yeah.
I can always tell when I start going up too high, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's a little bit too much, And so
Yeah,
I
now if I get around 14, 15%, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna go any higher because it's easy for me to get ready for a photo shoot and drop 2 or 3% body fat.
yeah.
But you have to lose a lot more. You're spending so much time on losing that then you end up it's really hard to lose body fat without losing weight and muscle, in a short period of time. So I like to keep it to where I can lose that body fat in fast enough though for a shoot if I need to without losing any of my muscle as well.
Yeah,
So
I always got that like 2 week window. If I had to like press
yeah,
press hard for 2 weeks, if I had like a surprise photo shoot that came up, and you're sure, like I had one for Costco actually, about 6 months ago, and they were like, "Hey, can you be ready in 2 weeks?" I was just like, "What? It's winter time." I'm like coming off of
right.
the holidays. I'm like, 210, and I'm going, "Oh my god." I in 2 weeks, I'm gonna be able to. I have to drop, like 10 pounds and get myself. And so I was like, okay, but I still didn't feel like I was ready for that anyway.
Right.
Even though, the shoot came out fine, but I always try to stay within striking distance at all times, and so I think that that kind of keeps me somewhat mindful, because I think what happens to a lot of people is they just sort of get caught up in life, and they sweep things under the rug for so long. They get and then when they start put effort into their fitness and stuff, they undermine it,
Right.
because they kind of go whenever they feel like going, and they allow themselves to not go to the gym, and whenever you kind of start doing that, you start undermining all your efforts, so it's a slow sabotage effect, and
Right.
before you know it, the going to the gym doesn't mean that much, and staying healthy doesn't mean that much, and
Right.
looking good doesn't mean that much, and then you start building up these justifications around it. Well, I'm busy, or I don't have the money, or I don't have this, or I don't have that, and you just start coming up with all these excuses to just stay the way you are,
Right.
and I always just like say, well, you got to be intentional with your health, like you got to have what's called intentionality. You can't. It's one thing to have mindfulness, and it's one thing to manifest, but in between mindfulness and manifestation is intentionality. Intentionality is you got to find out what are your values and your principles in your life, because those are what's driving your behavior and your beliefs, and then you gotta line your actions and all your behaviors up with your values and your principles, and then you have to be intentional about it. You have to plan, you have to set goals, you have to if not weekly goals, have daily goals, and if not daily goals, have hourly goals throughout the day, so when you're going to the gym, what you're going to be doing, start getting organized with your life. And people always say, well, that's just so restrictive, and it's like, no, it's actually the opposite. It's really freedom. It frees you
Yeah.
up, because you're not stressed about it anymore, you're not burdened anymore, and you're committed, and I'm always like, do you know what the difference between being committed and not committed is? Freedom. And they're like, "What do you mean? How can you be free if you're committed?" And I'm like, "Because you don't have to make any more decisions about it anymore. It's just you just do it." you know? And everyone's like, it's like, commitment. That's the beautiful thing about it. You don't have to make decisions anymore. You already made the decision one time. I'd say I put up two fingers one time, and that's it. You know?
I feel like also you like one of the things that you forget. It's like, you sort of like let yourself get out of it for like a week or so, and then you just sort of slide back into your old behavior. And then you start, like you said, you start finding reasons not to go to the gym. But you forget the feeling you have when you're feeling good about yourself. When I'm working out, and it's not just like, oh, I feel good about my body, but I feel good. But when I stop going to the gym, instant mindset. I start feeling like a slob, and then I start going, "Oh, what's the use of going right now anyway? Because I've already ruined it. Look at my body. I get body dysmorphia so easy. I, I had a cold after this photo shoot this week. I had a cold, and I haven't been to the gym, and I ate kind of bad, but I usually let myself have like a week. And I kind of had to get over this cold anyway. It's like I was croughing and coughing, so I thought, well, I'm not going to overdo it. But just in that amount of time, I could feel myself sort of going back into that old way of thought, like, oh man, I'm slob. Even though I would look in the mirror and like my body still looks so good because I just had my
Yeah.
photo shoot. But in my head, I was already starting to feel that way. And so I got back in the gym yesterday and I'm feeling right back at it and I feel good. But it's like if I hadn't gone back in a certain amount of time, it would have been so easy to get out of it and start making excuses again. But it's like after being back in the gym yesterday and today, I feel so good again. My mindset feels good. I feel good about myself. There's that, those endorphins that you get, that you don't get
Yeah,
otherwise.
like I mean, I always like. I was just talking to someone today, and they were talking about how, yeah, I took a break from the gym for a while, and just to kind of give my body some rest. I'm like, well, how long did you take off from the gym? Oh, just a couple of weeks. I'm just like, no, 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 no. Unless you're in a hospital, you're laid up in a bed, got pneumonia, something really crazy going on. I go, you can't let that much time slide by. Like I know for myself, if I let myself go any longer than 3 days, I automatically, in my mood, everything just starts to go down like this.
Yeah.
So even if I'm busy and say I'm on vacation and there's no gyms around or anything like that, I don't care. I'm going to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 sit-ups, and I'll go as hard as I can. Do some, 100 burpees even. It's like I'll do whatever
Right.
it
Right.
takes, because I know my body is going backwards and it's starting to fall off of a cliff. And at our age, being that we're in our mid 50s, if you take off too much time, you're gonna fall, you're gonna free fall. Your health is just gonna free fall. And so when I'm working with people and I'm thinking to myself, okay, look, you got to get in a consistent workout pattern. I want you to start drinking the Kool-Aid, which means don't let yourself go any longer than like 3 or 4 days before you go and work out.
Yeah.
Know that if you work out really hard one day and you feel really sore, take the next day off, fine. You can even take 2 days off. You can even take 3 days off and probably still be just as fine. But don't take off the fourth day and the fifth day and the sixth day, because I'm telling you, things are starting to go into the opposite direction of what you want them to go into.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
It's
But yeah, I feel like at our age, especially, it's so easy. Like, it takes a little bit longer to get the same results, but you stop working out and it's even faster to lose those results. I feel like at our age too. So, it's like it may take a little bit more work, but I feel like it's so much more worth it. I mean, not a lot of people our age look the way we do, but also they don't feel like we do. I feel really good. I feel like I have when I was in my 20s and 30s. And I don't know a lot of people my age that can say that.
yeah,
So I feel
I
like it's worth
feel the same. It's like I feel the same way, and I feel like I've actually become a lot wiser, and so I will
it.
prioritize my sleep more. I will prioritize, little intangibles like my hydration and and my, and I'll make sure my nutrition gets on point, and I'm make sure my exercise gets on point, and I'll make sure I'm doing some breath work and meditation, and then and I'll work on my mindset. Of course, I'm a mindset coach, so for me, it's I'm always studying and learning new things, and trying to always keep myself evolving, kind of like what you were saying that you do. It's like I always feel like I'm in a state of evolution, so I'm always learning new things, always listening to new podcasts,
Yeah.
reading new books, always reading the new studies that come out. I've people I follow. They're on top of everything. They're the best in the world, and I know that I'm doing everything I can to keep myself evolving in life. And I think what happens, I think, for a lot of people is they devolve. They go into the opposite direction,
Right.
and they're not working on themselves. And I don't know if this is true for you as it is for me, but I think that because what you just said, you feel like you're in your 20s and 30s, you almost have this, and I feel like this as well for myself, is I really think of myself as the same way as I was in my 30s. I don't really, my mind doesn't go to the point of where I say I'm 55. I think that there's like an archetype in my brain of a 55-year-old, and it doesn't match who I am inside and what I think I look like.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like, when I look at a 55-year-old, a typical 55-year-old, I see a beer belly, a beer gut, bloated, just not well, having
Right.
health issues, sluggish, doesn't go to the gym. Maybe they went to the gym at one point, don't go to the gym anymore,
Right.
drinking beers, sitting back, trying to enjoy life because they've worked so hard throughout their life.
Right.
And then they're, looking at retiring or whatever they're looking at, or they're in their final 10 years towards retirement. And so they're kind of like on cruise control. And then, but to me, that's where the health problems start to come in. I
Yeah.
when you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, you get diabetes, you have all these issues that start to come up. And I'm old enough now where I've seen what happens to people that don't take care of themselves and live that life and flirt and risk losing it all. So, and it's a painful suffering. It's a painful life. It's like that life is just I cringe when I think about ever having to live something like that. And so, I think that there's an opportunity for everyone to do what we do, and I don't think that it's never too late. Like
No.
I'm working with people that where I had a guy that was told by his doctor if he didn't change things around, he had about 8 months to live, 6 to 8 months to live. And he
Yeah.
was like, he was diabetic, and his sugar was like, ooh, man, it was in stratosphere, you know. And we worked on his health, his mindset, stress, and all that, and we were able to bring it all back down and get it under control. Losing my computer, but and so we were able to get it all under control. And I just say, well, if that guy, and he was 60, he's 65, so if he could do it,
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can do it. Like, I literally, like, that's when I had an aha moment where I was like, you know what? If this guy can turn his life around, he was 100 pounds overweight, severe diabetes. I mean, he had all kinds of edema, he had all kinds of things going on, and it was like he was able to reverse a lot of all of that. And now he's hiking, he's traveling, he's 100 pounds down, he feels amazing. It's like, everybody could do that. And so that's
Yeah.
what inspired me to want to go, you know what, this is what I want to do for my life. This is what I want to do for a living. I want to help people. I want to save people. I want to point people in the right direction to get them healthy. And I think I think that one of the things that's missing for a lot of people is like, because people think they're just doing it for themselves. Like they don't realize that no, you getting healthy is going to influence other people to get healthy, and
Yeah.
it's going to influence people close to you to get healthy. Because there's a pay it forward sort of mindset behind that, wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely. Um, one of my one of the things that I really wanted to do, and when I first went into rehab, was I put it all out there on social media because I felt like I want to have accountability for myself. And I know that now that people are watching me, I need to step up and make sure I don't go back to that life. And so, but I also started putting my workout progress and stuff online. And, I thought I'm going to help people by inspiring them because I got off drugs. I didn't even think about all the people that I'm inspiring who are a little bit older, maybe, who are thinking, wow, he's getting into shape, and it's sort of like, if I can do it after doing meth for 20 years, and now, like I had abused my body for all those years, and now I'm in the best shape ever, then anybody can do it.
That's right.
So, I mean, I do know that some people have some health issues that give them certain limitations, but you can still work around that, whatever you have to do. You know, I, I hear
Absolutely.
I hear
Absolutely.
so many people our age, like they're like, "Oh, you're so lucky to have a body like that." I'm like, luck has nothing to do with it. I worked my ass off to get this body. But it's like it's not about luck. It is, I mean, it's like, everybody's got different genetics, but you still have to work hard to get it. And I've had to work hard. I've had to diet. I've had to go without, you know, I can't go out and just drink, and I can't go out and go through the drive-through and get fast food. I can't do a lot of things because I'm like, nope, I can't have those empty calories. I can't have this, and it's not always fun, but it's worth it. So I did notice, like, as soon as I got in recovery, right before I did my first photo shoot, I ballooned up a little bit. I was working out, but I was eating a lot, and I kind of replaced food for, you know, the drugs, I guess. My dad had an addiction to food, and that's what eventually killed him. So I realized, I'm like, I can't go down this road. This is very dangerous for me. So I immediately started cutting back and watching my diet, and that's when I kind of got that first opportunity to do a photo shoot. And it came at the perfect time. But like, I noticed, like, when I'm in the shape that I am right now, body fat wise, I'm doing cardio every day. I go to the doctor, and my blood pressure is like 117 over 76 or something like that. Really good. You know, I get up to about, 200 and something pounds, and my body fat goes up a little bit. It's all of a sudden it's 138 over 85, or it's like it's a
Yeah.
huge difference, and your cholesterol goes up, and your glucose goes up. So I see how the way I'm living is making a huge impact on my health, not just my looks. And so, it's like at our age, I'm seeing a lot of my friends, even younger than me, die from heart attacks and things like that. And, it's just because of their lifestyle,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, 100 years ago, there wasn't very many men living past 55. You know, it didn't really become like, it was rare to see a healthy 55-year-old. Very,
right.
and then if you go even further back, I mean, I think the uh, life expectancy of a male in like the 1800s was only like 45 or 50. And so
Right.
life expectancy just only started to increase, like 30, 40, 50 years ago. It just started, like, increasing, and for the first time we're seeing a decrease in life expectancy, which is really odd the last couple of years. I know some of it had to do with COVID and whatnot,
Yeah.
but there's also this addiction to technology, social media, and then there's this the sitting culture. People are just sitting for longer periods of time, and
Addiction has caused a lot of that to go down,
addiction.
and
Yeah,
so, along with addiction, along with not feeling good about yourself by sitting in and playing video games and playing with whatever, your mental health decreases as well. And
yeah,
so I feel like having a healthier lifestyle not only helps with your health, but your mental health dramatically. It's like I can tell a huge difference how I feel about myself and my mental attitude when I'm in the gym and when I'm working out like I should and when I'm eating well. When I'm eating well and eating clean, it's like I will wake up at 5 in the morning and think, man, I don't have to work today. Why I'm up at 5? It's like, but I have all this energy. And when I'm eating bad, eating carbs, I'll be like, oh, it's 8 o'clock. I want to sleep a little bit more. I just have no energy. I don't have the drive. It's a totally different feeling when you're eating bad and when you're not.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think there's, we haven't quite evolved, I think, enough as a species to be able to deal with the negative consequences of being on screens and all this technology and all this distraction and information overload. And I think what's happening to a lot of people is that chronic stress from it, and it's a low level chronic stress. But you add poor diet, you know, pessimistic outlook on life, and social issues that are going on, and and then just general aging, associated issues and health issues, and it's a tough thing to break out of, and I think that once you get chronic stress, and this is I think one of the things that's really misunderstood by a lot of people, is that once you get chronic stress, it's not like you do one thing good one day and it goes away magically. It's like it's there's a long process that needs to happen of staying consistently healthy in order, and working on it on a regular basis that lowers it. Otherwise, you just every little trigger just triggers you right back into there. And I think as like you do modeling, I do modeling as well. I mean, not nearly as much as you do, but I think though the I still use my social media to look good. If I'm stressed out, I'm triggering high levels of cortisol into my bloodstream, and that cortisol is blocking my body's ability to burn fat, and I'll start to have, like, you won't be able to see my abs,
Yeah.
like I'll carry a little bit of extra weight and fat around my gut, and I'll be like, dang, I've been stressed out, and I wonder why. It's like, because I mean, I'm human,
Right.
even though I could work all the time, and do all the meditation, eat perfectly well, and all that. Even though I do all those things, I'm healthy, I could still get myself stressed out and get to a point where I have high levels of cortisol, and I'll put on a little belly fat. So I know if it's hard for me, and I do this for a living, I know it's got to be really tough on a lot of people who don't do that, don't work,
Yeah.
don't have an outlet to go and get rid of this chronic stress. So I think that's really what's plaguing a lot of people. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I've noticed, like, I I've been one who could easily stress over things, stress over small things. I'd make them bigger in my head. Um, and I feel like I've gotten a lot better lately, especially just by making myself continue to step out of my comfort zone. Because before I would stress over things because I would make them bigger in my head, and then I wouldn't do them. I'd back out, and then I would feeling more stressed that I allowed that to you know to defeat me. And
Right.
then I would stress about that. And then, so now one of the things is like, because I've had good successes with my photo shoots, like for each photo shoot now, I used to get a little bit stressed. Now I don't. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm excited about it. But like, I know what to do now to get the results that I want. And I know that as long as I do that, I'll get them. And so I don't stress anymore. I used to stress, "Oh, what if I'm not going to make it? What if I'm not going to lose this weight until then? All this kind of stuff." But now I'm like, I know I will. But even if I don't, I've noticed that I go in a little bit fluffier for some of these shoots, and I actually sell even better sometimes. So in my head, I'm like, you know what? Whatever is meant to be is meant to be. So I kind of feel like I've relaxed enough a little bit with myself to be okay with whatever shape I'm in. But at the same time, I'm not gonna not work for it. I'm still gonna like put in the effort and put in the work because I know what will get me the results. But yeah, it's like I catch myself sometimes stressing over a little bit of something, but then I just kind of have to remind myself, you know what, it always works out. You're gonna be fine. And I feel like one of the best things that ever helped me with that perception is whenever I start stressing about some of these little things, I remind myself where I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it completely puts things in perspective. I'm like, oh, things are amazing for me right now. Why am I getting stressed over something so silly? It's not even something I should be stressed about because look at where I am and look where I used to be. So that really helps me a lot.
Yeah, no, that's so inspirational too, because if anybody was to know that, it would be you. You know,
Yeah.
you just went through it, you know, so you
Yeah.
understand, you know. So where's your I know we're getting close to wrapping up here. We got 5. What tell me what you think, what does your future look like for you? Like what do you plan on doing with the modeling, and where do you going to be doing more shoots coming up? Like what do you got waiting in the wings here?
So right now I have three more book signings set up this year. One of them I have a photo shoot with that. Um, and I'll probably set up maybe another shoot this year, if not early next year. But like I told you, I recently took some online acting classes. A lot of that was just to get out of my comfort zone, but also I just seem to have more and more opportunities opening up for me, and I don't want something to come my way that I'm not prepared for.
Nice.
So if something comes on my way, I want to be able to take that opportunity and see. So I've just sort of like I'm thinking about a lot of things. I'm not cutting anything out. I'm not counting anything out. Like, I used to like be afraid to like even think about going after things, saying, "Oh, that's too big for me" or whatever. But I mean, I've had some big things happen for me, so I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure exactly what's going to happen because I want to move somewhere a little bit bigger, a bigger city. I feel like more opportunities would work open up for me there. So that's sort of my one of my shorter term plans is try to get to another another city that's a little bit bigger, and just kind of like go from there.
You have any cities in mind, or
So I lived in Atlanta for years. Don't really want to be in Atlanta because that was sort of a bad place for me. But at the same time, I'm not the same person. But I feel like there's so many opportunities in film and modeling and stuff there, and it's also close to my. I'm from Alabama, so all my family's here. So I might move somewhere close to Atlanta, maybe 30, 40 minutes outside of Atlanta, just so that I can have the opportunities, but not be in the city itself.
yeah.
So maybe that, or even I've even thought about Nashville. It wouldn't be too far away. So
Nice.
yeah,
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I would I'd love an opportunity for myself to. I've been in Seattle for 30 years, so I'm like, oh man, but I have an 8-year-old, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to go anywhere anytime soon. But I try to get over to Idaho for those summers, just to kind of get into a different atmosphere environment altogether.
right.
Take some take trips down to Arizona or California and stuff, and just kind of get out of town. But yeah, I think especially with modeling, or acting, you got to get into the bigger cities if you want to get any sort
Yeah.
of, you know.
Well,
I think that's
hopefully you will have some book covers coming out in the near future, and then once you do, hopefully you'll get invited to some of these book signings. It's really great because you get to experience. It'll be the first time that you're going to feel sort of like a celebrity because people are going to be asking for you to sign, take photos with you. Um,
it's fun.
and it's still really weird when it happens for me. I'm kind of like, I kind of get in that mode when I'm there, and afterward, I'm like, God, that's still so weird, But it's nice. It is, one of the big ones I went to after I left. It was sort of an after party after the signing, and people there had had a few drinks, and so they were a lot more brave than they were at the signing. So people were coming up to me and asking for photos and different things. And so when I left, it just hit me like how much my life had changed. I went from homeless to like this life, and I was in the elevator going back to my room, just tears going down my face because
Oh,
it's like, I feel so blessed. But hopefully you'll get to experience that soon. But then like when you're there, you'll get to meet all these new authors, and then that's just a great way for you to connect even more, to get more business, get more covers. So yeah, and when I first saw you online, I'm like, he's like the perfect person for this, because you have this positive outlook, and I would see your post and I would be like, I love his positivity. It's sort of been my brand, and I'm like, authors are going to love him. He's got the look. So I was so happy to see that you connected with Gene and got the photos and they're doing well. So I think you're gonna have some good success.
Yeah, I really I love doing those type of things. It's like be a character, you know.
It's true.
I really think I would have loved to get into acting, in my life, and gotten into, really, into acting on a deep. I just like you. I was very at first. I was very. I had self-esteem issues.
Yeah,
I was always like the guy behind the scenes orchestrating everything. Because I
right,
was a coach, and my athletes would be on stage and competing, and I was
right.
kind of the guy behind the scenes. And so, when it came to, I did a little bit of modeling when I was like 19, 20 years old. And then I just got into full on, just running my gyms and my business and stuff. And so just, the last 5 years, I've had a couple of modeling gigs through my agency, Seattle Models Guild. And that was fun. I did some Eddie Bauer
Yeah,
stuff, just some fitting modeling for them, and I really enjoyed it. And then COVID came, and that kind of
yeah,
wiped out all the momentum that I had gathered on, beforehand. But I loved meeting with Gene. I loved putting on the cowboy outfits and
yeah.
that stuff. I mean, to me, it was like,
Right.
I was like, this is so fun. I mean,
It is fun.
could enjoy it. So I hope, I hope that we can sell some book covers, and
Yeah,
hopefully I can, meet with you at one of the book signings one day, and we can have fun and kind of
that'd
hang
be
out
awesome.
and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm hoping for some people to buy some of my book covers too. That'd be awesome.
yeah. I know you're gonna sell some more. So, and hopefully you'll do some more shoots and everything. So, but it's a great industry to get into. I've sort of feel like I've got this second family with a lot of these people,
Yeah.
and it's just like a life I didn't expect to have, and then it's sort of like opening up other doors for me. It's like I never expected my Instagram to explode like it did, but I just hit over 200,000 people, and so
Yeah.
I'm having these people that connections and stuff I never thought I would have. Different celebrities even follow me and stuff, and so it's like, wow, who is this person? Who am I? I didn't expect to have any of this. So it's like I didn't expect to even be alive at this point. I really didn't. I really didn't. I couldn't see myself, 5 years ago, even being still around. So to not only be around, but to be living this life and feeling good about myself and modeling and do this. And so it's like, getting to share my story is great. I feel like I was given this platform for a reason, so I have to use it for good. And that's what I've been trying to do. So, you know, talking with you too, it's like I love the chance to get not only get to share my story, but like just to hopefully be a positive influence on people, whether it be fitness, because a lot of people our age see us and they're like, if they can do it, I can do it. And I know I've had some people say, I'm back in the gym because of you, because I've seen you do it. And I've seen them kicking butt now. So now they're inspiring people, you
Yeah,
know?
that's what I love. I love that, we're able to influence other people, and turn their lives, and make their lives more magical, and
Yeah.
and you're not just living, you're thriving, So it's like, you're an inspiration for everyone, including me. So, it was wonderful to chat with you, and I loved connecting with you. And thank you again
Good.
for hooking me up with Gene and the romance book covers and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And look forward to seeing what you do in the future. And we'll stay in touch for sure.
Sounds
Um,
good.
I will, get this out there for everyone to look at, and we'll just, I'll post it. I'll post it up. I'll send you a copy of it and everything, and we'll kind of get, we'll get it out there, and hopefully we'll inspire more people.
Sounds
So
great. Sounds great.
very cool. Well, it was great chatting with you, Kevin. You know, enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend, and I will, reach out anytime. Okay.
Hey, great talking to you too. Thank you.
All right, bud. All right,
All
we'll
right.
talk soon. You got
All right,
it.
take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.